Hi, boys and girls. Mrs. Jackson here. We're going to be talking today about using describing words in your writing. Why is that important? We're going to find out. We're also going to find out how that helps your reader understand your writing better. So let's get started. Our learning target today. Let's see here. Our learning target is I can use words to describe people, places, things, and events. Our success criteria is I will use words or adjectives to describe people, places, things, and events. And the relevance is using describing words or adjectives makes my writing more interesting to the reader. Okay? So we are going to talk about using words to describe people, things, places, and events when we're writing. The reason that is important, boys and girls, is because you want your writing to be interesting to your reader. So let me give you an example. If you're reading a book and it says something like, well, let's talk about this. You're going to be talking about polar bears this week. Remember, we've been doing our animals. So you're going to talk about polar bears this week. Mrs. Horton and Mrs. Holt are going to be working on some reading and writing with you about polar bears. So, if I had a sentence that just said, polar bears are scary. We know polar bears are scary because they are bears, and most of us would be scared of bears. But we can use words, adjectives, which are describing words, to tell why they're scary or how they're scary, okay? So I might say, that polar bear is scary. And my reader would read it and say, yes, that polar bear is scary. Not very exciting. But if I said, that huge, white, mean polar bear is scary. Well, that we can see the bear up with his claws out, his mouth and teeth showing. We get a picture in our brains of what we read. So that sentence is much more powerful to our reader than the polar bear is scary. Because I told you why and I described why the polar bear was scary and described the polar bear. So we're going to practice writing some sentences using adjectives, which are describing words. Okay? So let's start with our first sentence. Now I know the polar bear has teeth. So I might say, look at the polar bear's teeth. Not very exciting. Let's write that. Look at the teeth on that polar bear. Okay, look at the teeth on that polar bear. Well, I want to make this sentence more exciting, and I want you to visualize based on what you're reading. I want you to see those teeth on the polar bear. So let's rewrite that sentence using some describing words. So now I'm going to say, look at the huge, sharp teeth on that polar bear. And I'm going to put an exclamation point. So let's look at the difference. Look at the teeth on that polar bear. So we're going to look at the teeth, right? But then when we read this, look at the huge, sharp teeth on that polar bear. Exclamation point. Wow, we can really see the huge, sharp teeth on that polar bear, can't we? Now, I'm going to underline huge and sharp because those are adjectives. Those are adjectives. They are describing words. Let's practice another sentence. I'm going to write another sentence about the polar bear, okay? I'm going to simply say the polar bear can hurt other animals with claws. Okay? The polar bear can hurt other animals with claws. Well, let's see if we can rewrite that sentence and make it more exciting using adjectives. I'm going to say the polar bear and I forgot to put my bear in this part. The polar bear can hurt other animals with long, sharp claws. Okay. So now I said the polar bear can hurt other animals with long, sharp claws. So now we can see those long claws in our minds on the polar bear. They don't just have claws that hurt other animals. We know by reading this that they have long, sharp claws, and we can get a better picture of what that polar bear looks like and how dangerous the polar bear might be. You can use adjectives to spice up any sentence that you write. I might tell my friend, I like your dress, or your dress is pretty. Or I might tell my mom, I saw a pretty dress I would like today. But it would be better if I describe the dress, right? Using adjectives. So I could say, I saw a yellow dress today. It was a sundress and very fluffy at the bottom. So I've used yellow, sundress, and fluffy. I've used those adjectives. So now my mom knows she has no idea what the dress looks like if I just say I saw a pretty dress today. But if I tell her it was yellow, it was a sundress, and it was fluffy, then she has a better picture in her mind of the dress that I want, that I thought was pretty. So we're going to practice using adjectives in our writing this week. We're going to fluff up our sentences and make them more interesting to our reader, okay? Remember, our I can statement, or our learning target, I can use words to describe people, places, things, and events. And that is important because it makes my writing more interesting to the reader, okay? When you're reading a book and you get excited about it, think about all the adjectives that are in your writing or your reading. Think of the adjectives that make it more exciting for your reader, okay? So we're going to practice that this week with Mrs. Horton and Mrs. Holt as we do our writing. See you soon.